everyone, this is Cal Jardy, founder of Fearless Transformation. I help entrepreneurs, leaders, coaches, and trainers to double the results with half the time. So today I'm going to be talking to you about a pattern that is very powerful. It's going to help you to first either work on yourself to change a limiting pattern from the past that's been stopping you in the future, or work on someone else, maybe a client, a friend, in order for them to move beyond that limiting pattern. Good? Excellent. So, with that being said, what is that limiting pattern? What is that pattern I'm going to share with you? It's called the reframe pattern. It's called the reframe. So how could you reframe something from the past? That's one way, meaning something that happened in the past that's stopping us in the future. And the reason why I say that is because many times we think that things that happened in the past, that's in the past. And some of us say that time is the healer of all wounds, yes? And from my experience, it's been that time is the infector of all wounds. We may think on a conscious level that the past is the past, and however, we find that the past carries on in the future. Let me give you a silly example. So let's say you are working, you're having, in your business, or you're at the job, and it's Friday afternoon, and now you are, around 2, 3 o'clock, and you're expecting to be done by 5. And here you go, around 4:30, you have something that happens in the workplace. It could be maybe a boss that comes to you and tells you, well, I need you to stay, till 7 tonight working on this really complicated project. Or you could be at your business, and here you get maybe someone from the IRS that they want you to stay out late to, show your files. Or it could be maybe a client that now you're having to deal with a problem. Anyway, it was unexpected, it was Friday, and now what state you may suppose that you'll be in? Most likely you'll be in a frustrated state, wouldn't you? Now, let me put it this way. Let's say in the same context that we just created, that that right afterwards you will be traveling to your favorite vacation with your favorite people on earth. It could be you'll be your partner, it could be a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a very good friend that you want to go out with, travel with. So anyway, you are going to a travel vacation. You have the ticket for that. So now that I put that in place, how is your experience would be different now? Are you going to be the same level of frustration, knowing that after you're done with dealing with this whole problem, you have a ticket that's waiting for you that you leave at 9 p.m. that night? You probably wouldn't be as frustrated as you would be if you didn't have that ticket to that vacation, would you? Why? Because you are living in the future knowing that after we deal with this whole mess, I'm going to be out of here. And that's why you'll be okay with it. On the other token, you go to the vacation and you have a great time, and now you're on a favorite vacation on the planet. Let's say you're in Bahamas, let's say. And here you are laying on the beach and sipping on your favorite drink with your favorite person sitting right next to you. And all of a sudden you see a plane just like, and you look up and you see the plane. And now you remember that it is Sunday afternoon, and tomorrow you gotta go back to these projects, to these complaining customers, to that nagging boss, or that negative coworker. Yes? So now, what state you'll be in? My hallucination will tell me that you would feel a little bit icky. It's like, I have to leave this heaven that I'm in right now, that I'm going to go back to the mundane daily thing that can be frustrating. Wouldn't you? Precisely. So, are we living in the present? Most likely we're not, based on this context that I just created with you. We are living in the future. So the past is really not in the past. The past is in the future, and we carry it along with us. Good? So, with that being said, whatever happened to us in the past that had made an impact on us, meaning if there's a negative response towards it, we carry that on a subconscious level, deep-rooted in our subconscious, and that dictates our behavior. How many of us, many times, we found it that we are responding in an automatic, recurring way to certain things in our life, meaning, here we go again, I got charged another late fee on my bank account. Yes? What about, for example, you will find yourself attracting very similar people to your life, partners, for example. What about a husband or a wife or a relationship that you attract, that they have very similar patterns from the ones that you have in the past? So many times we end up attracting these behaviors or these relationships in our life. We think that we're making the right choice, but unconsciously we're attracting our life, and we find ourselves in very similar situations that limited us from the past, and now we find ourselves in it in the present. I know I've experienced that in my life. Regarding, for example, organizing around my finances. I remember when I was growing up that my dad used to be in construction. And, for those of you who are in construction, or you know somebody in construction, it's not stable. So one time you get a big project you're working on, and you do so well, you make good money, and everything, life is good, and sometimes it's just nothing. And so it's a lot of ups and downs, I remember as a child, I was around 7, 8 years old. I remember my dad and my mom used to have a lot of problems, a lot of fighting around money. That money is not enough, how I'm going to pay for this school, for my brother and my sister, and how we're going to afford certain things, our household, and a lot of fighting, a lot of yelling, screaming. And as a child, I used just to feel, small. I wish I was never born at times. I feel very guilty for causing my parents to go through this struggle. I don't want to show my face in front of them. I go avoid. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. So, with that being said, I made it mean that money is a struggle, money is hard, and money only comes by blood and sweat. And as a result, throughout the past 20 years of my life, I find myself that I really have to work hard for money, that I really have to sweat, I really have to spend a lot of hours, which is great. However, I never had this belief that money comes easily and frequently without having to really, sweat and blood for it. I don't know if you could, relate to that. And with that being said, that pattern that happened in the past, I found it that's carrying on with me to the future. So in order for me to overcome it, in NLP, I learned this pattern that's called reframing. And that's what I'm about to share with you. And that would help you overcome these limiting patterns, these limiting experiences that happened in the past, that you may find yourself attracting very similar results in the present and eventually in the future. Good? Awesome. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump into that pattern. What is that pattern? That pattern is, in NLP, we learn something that's called, we first start with first, what is NLP? NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which means how to program your brain and nervous system to get what you want in your life through the language that is spoken or unspoken in order for us to get everything that we want in our life. Okay? And all of that terminology goes into NLP, but it doesn't matter what it stands for, it matters what the results that you get. So NLP is more about accessing or following a trail of results from highly successful people that they've gotten a certain area of their life that is they've been excellent at it. So we look at it, we model it, we see what they did, and we chunk it down into patterns so that we can teach it, and you and I and anybody can learn these patterns as long as they have the physical capabilities in order to do them. Meaning, I'm not going to ask you to be, like Michael Jordan, if you are like myself, 5'7", and you haven't practiced for a long time. And I'm already like 37 years old right now. There's no way I'm going to be like Michael Jordan. Good? So as long as you have the physical capabilities and having the will, then you'll be able to get these results that these high successful people gotten as long as you have the mindset for it, the will, you have the mindset, and you will have the energy, meaning the emotions. They have enough emotions of the drive for this will, and going through the patterns. All right. So these are the three things. First, you want to have your thoughts. Talking about thoughts and emotions. And then, you know, the last piece of it, you'll get the behavior, right? So the behavior. So these are the three qualifications in order for you, meaning having the intention, the focus, what do you want, then enough emotions to drive what you want, and then you want to have a pattern that will help you get the behavior that these people are getting. All right? So we start usually from the current state. Where are you right now? And then we're going to declare where would you like to be, and then we're going to put resources to get us there. Simple. So starting with where are you right now? Let's say you are in a place right now that you find yourself maybe avoiding or pushing things, that you're not taking action, you're not so motivated, you're pushing things away from you from not taking action. Let's say this is a pattern, but you can pick whatever pattern that you want, okay? Whatever pattern that you want that's been stopping you. So I'm going to give you a moment right now to think of a pattern that you want to change and transform so that you'll be able to overcome it and get what you want instead. All right? And then we are going to see where you want to be. Okay? All right? And we're going to put some resources between where you are now. This is a present state. And this is a desired state where you want to be. All right? So here's the pattern. Here's how it works. First, step number one, here's what you do. Whether you're sitting with yourself, you can have someone else do it on you in order for you to get to these limiting beliefs, or I'm doing it on you right now. So I invite you to sit in a comfortable place with no interruptions, with your feet flat on the floor, and maybe bring a notepad and a pen, so this way you can keep track of these, or you don't have to do them. You can go watch the video again, and this way you can get the pattern, okay? But I really would like you to be present with me right now so you can get the best out of this pattern, okay? Awesome. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into that pattern. So what is that pattern? First, people interpret reality through three modalities mostly. Usually it's five. So something we see, yes, something we see, something we hear, something we feel. That's mostly the three modalities we interpret our reality. Something we see, something we hear, and something we feel. And sometimes we add two more senses to that, which is something we smell or something we taste. Okay? Smell or taste. So how many times that you smell a certain fragrance on people and that reminds you of a certain person? It could be, if it's that person you like, then you feel like you want to smell, you enjoy that smell. And if someone that you have some animosity towards, that you just you want to be disassociated from. Yes? The same thing, something you taste. How many times you tasted certain food that reminds you of your back in Thanksgiving when everything was good, you were a child having your cousins around and you're having a good meal with your family. Put you in a positive state. That's what we call them anchors, right? So anchors. So how many times you've seen a visual picture of loved ones, and then when you see this, automatically feel positive emotions. That's a visual anchor. On the negative side of that, how many times you're driving the car and all of a sudden you see a flashing lights? That's a negative anchor. Yes, you feel like somebody, like a cop pulled you over. Okay. The same thing goes for auditory. How many times you hear some certain voice that reminds you of your mother or reminds you of your teacher that you had in school that was very critical of you. Okay. Or siren. When you hear a siren on the negative side of that as well, you would automatically you get anxious and you feel like you're alert. What's going on? You feel scared. So those are called anchors. Yes. So these are very important, and we're going to talk about this right now in a sense that how could we change that? So what if we can change these anchors? What if we can change the experience that we had in the past so that our unconscious okay, will not have that experience imprinted in such a way that imprinted it in the past, and we will have a different experience of it. So there's two parts of the brain. I don't want to be insulting your intelligence with that, but this is something that, you know, you've probably heard before. And so we're going to put it right here. And you got the right side of the brain, and you got the left side of the brain, okay? So you got the right side of the brain, you got the left side of the brain. And what happens is your right side is your subconscious, mainly, meaning these are the memories from the past. This is your emotional part of your brain. This is where 80% of our conditioning, our programming lies. This is where it takes place, in your right side of the brain. On the left side of the brain, however, this is your logical side of the brain. This is a critical side of the brain. This is a brain that wants you to accomplish things, go through goals, set goals, and you know, analyze things. This is your logical. So I'm going to put here, this is your emotional side, right there. Okay, and this is your logical side. Okay, emotional side and logical side. So what does that mean? So what's the point? What's the point? So the point is that where we need to work, where are we working right now, is here, on this part of the side of the brain. This is on the emotional side, on your right side of the brain. Because that's where 80% of our conditioning takes place. This is where our patterns, our recurring patterns, our automatic recurring patterns takes place right here in our emotional side. Which means once we change an experience on an emotional part of the brain, that's where we can change it forever. So the question is, can we change an experience that happened in the past, how it affected our emotions, so that we could disassociate the emotions that we had in the past from the actual what happened, which is, you know, the fact. So usually when we go on live, you know, something that takes place, and then we would make a meaning out of it, yes? So, for example, I'm going to draw another 2 circle right here, and then I'm going to share with you how that does that look like. So let's say you got something that happened, you know, for example, in my case, I heard my parents fighting over money. That's something that happened, okay? That's something that happened. Okay? That's a fact. Whereas I make a meaning out of it, okay, that is that money is a struggle, that money comes hard. Does that make sense? So now this is a meaning that I make, something that happened, and then I'll make a meaning out of it. All that happened is I heard my parents, you know, fighting over money, okay, fighting over money, and then what I made it mean, that money comes hard, okay, let's say. Okay, money is hard. So that now is conditioned where in our subconscious, right here, so that when we walk into the present or the future and we get an opportunity, let's say, to invest in something that we know it is lucrative on a logical side, however, we don't end up doing it, or when we do it, deep down inside there's a little voice that says, yeah, but money is not that easy, and it's not gonna come, it's not gonna work out, things is not gonna work out. And guess what would happen? You know it. Most of the time it doesn't work out. And that's what distinguishes successful people from people who are struggling, is that mindset. The mindset of people who are successful is what gets them what they want in their life versus what they actually do. Are you a hard worker? Ask yourself. How many times you find people who are filthy rich, they're happy, they're successful, they have the relationship they want, however, they don't work as half as you do. I know I do. Okay? So it's not about working hard. Working hard is a crucial component in being successful. I know, I know from interviewing thousands of successful people and being surrounding myself with them, around them, and learning from them. I know that they worked really hard at some point in their life in order for them to accumulate, the success they have. However, they did it from a place that they had an outcome to come to, not from a place that they believe that that's the only way to do it, and this is going to be a constant thing for the future. So it is something temporary that they're going to just put everything they got in it in order for them to get what they want. So it's a different, completely different mindset. And they know that they're worth it. And this is huge. They know they're worth that money. They know they're worth where they want to be in their life. And that's what distinguishes successful people from not so successful people. All right? So that's the point. That's why. I know I've been rambling here around, but I just wanted to get the world of it, why that's important for us to work on the experience from the past and change it. So right now, I'm just going to jump into that experience. How to be able to do that, right? So here's the pattern. The pattern goes this way. When we're receiving the information through our three senses, we're going to talk about visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Kinesthetic meaning touch, tactile sensation, or feelings, okay? And auditory is something we heard and something we hear, and visual, something we see, obviously, yes? So now we're gonna go to that past experience, and that's where you need to, right now, to focus, lean back, sit back, relax on your chair, take a deep breath in. Sometimes I forget to breathe, and just relax and go through this exercise with me. And you can go back to this video and play it again. So, recall a time of your life when something that happened where you made a meaning out of it. Just like we talked about those two circles. Something that happened that you made a meaning out of it, and that meaning carries on with you in the future and it affects you. Meaning, anytime that you remember that, there are some negative emotions that arise. And these negative emotions are embedded in your subconscious, and it's affecting your present and your future. Good? So, with that being said, what I want to do right now is see what you're seeing in that event. Put yourself in that event as if it's happening right now. See what you're seeing, hear what you're hearing, and allow whatever feelings there to be present. And breathe the way you'll be breathing then now. What did you see? What did you hear? And what did you feel? And now, it could be maybe people around you. How do they look? The colors. Notice the colors. Maybe the sounds. What did you hear? Who was telling you what? How their sound was? And whatever feelings are to be present. And go ahead and point out, place in your body where that feeling was. Point it out. Okay, so in my case, when I remember that, I feel it right here in my stomach. It's like my stomach gets tight. Okay? I promise you I'm not going to keep you there for too long, and you are going to transform it so that anytime that you think of that specific event, it's going to be neutralized, meaning you're not going to have these emotions anymore. So that's why it's important to follow up with me in this exercise and do what I'm asking you to do if you are committed into overcoming that experience in the past so that you can create the future that you always wanted to. Because your success is dependent on you, and your success lies right here between our two ears only. Once we change the mindset and we put the mindset for success, then nothing will stop you. I know that, wouldn't you? All right? So, first, now that you are in that experience, now what you see, I want you to notice the colors. Are they black and white, or are they colored? Is the picture that you see, is it black and white, or is it colored? All right? So I'm just making things up right now. Let's say if it was colored, so I'm just going to put here colored. Okay? Second question is it a picture or is it a movie? Meaning, is it a still picture, you just remember one picture, or you remember it as a movie that's going on? Okay? And now, let's just say it was a movie. Okay? If it's not, then just put a picture. Okay? And you can do this with a client as well. Okay? Or you can just go through with this with me and have somebody else, or maybe do it for you as well. But it's important for you to go through this with me so you can experience it in your body, so you can see the power of that. All right? The third question you say is, what you saw now, is that picture or that movie, is it close or is it far in the distance? Is it close to you or is it far in the distance? Let's just say it is close. Okay? Okay? And here is his movie, and here it is colored. All right? Next, ask, in that experience, is it panoramic view, or is it frame? Does it have a frame around it? Okay, so answer that for yourself. You can jot it down. Okay, so let's say it was a panoramic. All right, good. Let's see, what else can we do as far as view? Oh, is it big or is it small? Is it big or is it small? Okay, so in my case, it was big. I can completely see it. It's panoramic, it's a movie in my head, and it's big and it's colored. Okay, so I'm going to put it's big. All right, good. So this would do. That's what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We call them these submodalities. Okay. So these are the 3 modalities we're using: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. These are the submodalities of each of these modalities. Good. Next, auditory would be something like, okay, so in that experience, what you were hearing, was it a loud, or was it not so loud, the voices? Okay, so in my case it was loud. Okay, and then second, you can ask, were there any sound in the background, or was it quiet? So in my case there was sound. Okay, then I say, let's say, was it rhythmic? The sound was rhythmic or arrhythmic? Okay, just all over. So in my case, it was arrhythmic. All right, good. So, and sometimes it could be just silent. There's nothing there. Okay, and that's when you say there was just no sound. Okay, at all. Great. Let's move on into kinesthetic. Okay, so with the kinesthetic, what is it that if you got to touch that movie or that picture, would it be warm or would it be cool? Okay, so in my case, touching that picture, it would have been cold. Okay, it would have been cold. Next, if I touch that, when you touch that picture, would it be more of rough tactile sensation, or would it be smooth if you touch that movie or that picture? Okay, in my case it will be rough. Okay, so I'm going to write rough. Next, when you touch that movie or the picture, as you're thinking about that now, would it be, if you get to touch it, would it be wet or would it be dry? Okay, so in my case, as I'm thinking about it, it was dry. Okay, so I'm going to put dry right here. Okay, and you can get more of these submodalities when it comes to more of a tactile sensation. I'm just going to be satisfied with those 3, so you can get, the impact of it, and mostly it will be completely perfect. All right. Next, here's what I do. Right now, I just want you to, open your eyes, or you tell your friend or your client to open their eyes, and now, you want to break state. It's important to do here right now is breaking state. How do we break state? You can, just look around. Look around in the room, just shake your body a little bit. I mean, if you're sitting down, just stand up and just shake your body a little bit. Take a deep breath, and this is, we break stage, focus on a couple of things in the room. Okay, so you get your mind out of it, okay? Now what I want you to do right now is this. I want you to figure out how to get to where you want to be. Now, the intensity of the feelings, and I should have asked you this before, but the intensity of the feeling that you went through this one, rate it from 1 to 10. How intense is it? From 1 will be the least intense, or 10 will be the highest intensity. Where do you rate yourself? Okay? So in my case, and you can do it right now, the question would be, close your eyes again, think of that state. As I'm thinking about that right now, I can rate it at a 7.5. Okay? Great. So I'm going to put here 7.5. All right, good. So now where we want to move is we're going to start playing with these submodalities. Just like a meal, when we cook, we start playing with the ingredients. First we got the ingredients, and now we start playing with the portions of these ingredients, which is the submodalities. So the portions of these ingredients will be the submodalities, whereas the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, which are the modalities, these will be your ingredients. Okay? So we're going to start playing with those. So here's how we're going to play with it. Close your eyes, and now remember that picture. Go back to that event, and now if it's colored, make it black and white. Can you make it black and white? So in my case, okay, yes, I make it black and white. Is that better or is that worse? And then you'll decide. In my case, it will be much better if I make it black and white. So I'm going to put black and white over here. Okay. So this is the, let's put it under visual, auditory, kinesthetic. That's where we want to be. And now I'm going to make it, yes, black and white. Next, as you're thinking about that event, instead of make it a movie, can you make it a framed, a just picture frame? So in my case, as I'm thinking about that right now, I'm going to take it away from being a movie and I'm going to put it into a picture frame. Yes, and is that better or worse? That's much better for me to have it just a frame, okay? When I say better or worse, meaning how do you feel about it? The intensity of the feeling, does it go down or does it go up from the 7.5 that I had? For you, it will be a different rating, okay? So in my case, then I will make it a frame. Good. So as I'm thinking about that now, the next one would be, would it be, instead of making it close, can we push it far in the distance? Can you push it far in the distance? Okay? Now, as I'm thinking about it, I'm pushing that way far in the distance. I can just see that frame where, I can see it right there, and now push it far in the distance. Yes, that's much, much better far in the distance. So I'm going to put here far in the distance. Okay? I'm going to add one submodality, which is very, very important, and that is sometimes we see it from our own eyes, and sometimes we see ourselves in the picture, and that is crucial as well. So I'm going to add this one right here. I'm going to ask you, in that event that you had, were you seeing it from your own eyes as if it's happening right now from first positioning, or you were seeing yourself in the picture as a third party, like watching yourself in that? So if that's the case, whatever the case is, just go ahead and add it here, and that would make a really big difference for you. So in my case, I am seeing myself in the picture in the beginning state where I started, the present state. So I'm going to put here first positioning. Okay, and the second would be the desired state where we're gonna go to. Now, where do you see yourself as seeing it from your own eyes, or can you put yourself in a third party seeing yourself in the picture? So I'm thinking about it right now, and if I push myself and I'm seeing myself out from a distance, that's much better, okay? And this is what we call disassociated. Sometimes it's much better to disassociate rather than be associated. When we're looking at it from a distance, watching ourselves in the process, it takes the emotions out because now we're not in these emotions. So I'm going to put it here at second positioning, okay? Second positioning right here. All right, good. We still got the close, so with Tafar, so we still got the panoramic and view. So in my case, if it's panoramic, now would I make it more of a frame? Is that better or is that worse? Okay, so in my case, if I make it a frame, it will be much better. So I'm going to put it here as frame. And last but not least, we got, instead of being big, can we make it small? Can you make it small? All right, good. That's better for me, is make it small. Okay, good. So I'm going to keep it at, I'm going to put it at small. All right, good. So now I'm going to move into the auditory. If there's any sounds in the background, then could you make it, if it's loud, can you make it not so loud? Okay. So in my case, I could make it actually no sound at all. Matter of fact, I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to insert a music that I like. I'm going to insert maybe a cartoon. I used to watch Looney Tunes. I'm going to play that in the background. And now, how was your experience? Is it better or worse? What is your favorite music? What do you like? What is it like, something that puts you in a positive state? And play that in the background. And now see that your experience, is that better or is that worse? Okay? So in my case, it's definitely going to be better. Right now, playing that Looney Tunes in the background. Okay, so I'm going to put here Looney Tunes. Okay, music. And as far as kinesthetic, instead of having it being cold, can you make it warm? Okay, is that better or worse? In my case, it will be worse if I make it warm. So I'm just going to keep it as cold. Okay, I'm going to keep it cold. Rough, instead of being rough, can I make it smooth? Yes, I can make it smooth. I can see like how smooth that is. That's actually definitely better. Okay, so smooth. And last but not least, instead of being dry, can I make it moist or wet? Yes, but that doesn't make any much difference. So I'm just going to, never mind it. I'm just going to keep it there. Okay? So that's the thing. You can be flexible around it. You want to trust yourself and you want to calibrate for your client in order for to see them if that really makes a difference. And how to calibrate, you want to watch the facial expression. Sometimes you see the blood rushing through the face. You're able to see that if that's better or not, if there are more emotions or less emotions. Okay? So now that we reframe the submodality, we reframe the quantities of the ingredients, here's what I want to do right now. I want you to first, shake your body, change state, break state again, look around you. Okay, good. Now, with the new submodalities that you have, just go ahead and think of that event that happened in the past. And from 1 to 10, where is it now? As I'm thinking about mine, with the new submodalities, wow, it's probably like around 3.5. Okay, so I don't know about you, but for me, right now it's around 3.5 with the new submodalities. I'm going to put here 3.5. Okay, and which is a huge difference from where it was. And guess what? This would stay with you. This is not going to change back to this one, because now it's being re-imprinted in your brain. How did it happen with these new submodalities in place? So anytime that you think about that event, you are going to realize that your emotions around it, they're not as intense as they used to be. And if that didn't work for you right now as we're going through this video, because you're having to stop, pause, all that stuff, now you got the pattern. So I'm going to review the pattern real quick for you. First thing you want to find out what's the present state, and then you're going to go into a new desired state. Okay, and how would you do that? You're going to pick the three most used submodalities, which is visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And you're going to ask, you're going to go to that event as if you are in that event and see what you're seeing, hear what you're hearing, and feel what you're feeling. So you want to ask your client, or you want to ask your friend or yourself. You're going to ask, okay, so remember a specific time in your life when this first happened, or when this happened, when this limiting pattern started. What do you remember from what we talked about, what happened? Okay, what do you remember? All right, good. And then ask them, what do you see, what do you hear, what do you see, what do you hear, and what do you feel? And now ask them, is it colored or is it black and white? What do you see? And they tell you, and jot it down. And then ask them, is it a movie or is it a picture? Great, and then jot that down. Is it close or is it far? Put that down. Is it panoramic or is it framed? Put that down. Is it big or is it small? Put that down. And then do you see it from your own eyes as if it's happening right now, or you see yourself in the picture as a second positioning? And jot that down. Now go into auditory. What do you hear? Is it loud or quiet? And you can say it's loud or quiet. And sometimes they say it's insignificant. And that's fine too. You want to be flexible. It's very important. And then, is it arrhythmic? If there's any sound, what sound would it be? That's a good question to ask. If there is a sound, what sound would it be? And then some people will tell you, well, would it be something like squeaky noise, like very irritating? Okay, great. Jot that down. It's important. And then you go into kinesthetic. Is it cold or is it warm? Jot that down. Is it rough or is it smooth? Is it dry or is it moist? You jot that down. Excellent. Now, break state. Okay? Break state. Just look around, shake your body, take a deep breath, focus on a couple of things in the room, and now you go into where the reframe is going to take place. So how would you do that? Instead of colored, you ask your client or you ask yourself, is it colored? Can you make it black and white? Great. And sometimes they say, no, I can't, and that's fine too. You want to honor that and you want to move on. Can you make it black and white? Most of the time they can. And if they said, I don't know, if they say I don't know, say, if you did know, what would it be? Or how could you make it work? Right? Black and white, great. Is it better or is it worse? You want to follow up with this question. Is it better or is it worse? When you say is it better or is it worse, obviously you already calibrated from 1 to 10 how intense these feelings are. So if the feelings over here, you want to make sure where they are, the original state, from 1 to 10. 1 will be the least intense, 10 will be the highest intensity, where the feelings are. And then you jot that down. And now you start going from there. Is it better or is it worse? And then you go, instead of a movie, make it a frame. Is it better or is it worse? So on and so forth. On the auditory, you can be a little bit creative with that. You can say, you know, what is your favorite music? What was something that you put a smile on your face? What was something that makes you smile? Or whatever the state you want them they want to be in. And then you ask them. And they will tell you, well, I like, for example, opera. I like to, listen to opera music. Okay, great. Can you play your favorite opera music in the background? Now we're re-imprinting what happened in that experience, yes? So in my case, it was Looney Tunes. When I was growing up, I used to love to watch these cartoons, okay? And now you finally go into kinesthetic. Kinesthetic, instead of cold, and now can you make it warm? And in my case, it didn't help. It actually made it worse. So I just kept it at cold. Okay, I want to show you that you can be very flexible according to calibrating with your client or with that person or with yourself if you're doing it on yourself. Or rough or smooth, and then you change. Dry. In my case, dry. It didn't make much difference, so I just kept it dry. Okay, I didn't go into moist. Okay, again, you just want to be going through these 3 submodalities, and after that, you get them to break state again, and now think of that event, and now from 1 to 10, where is it now? And most likely you'll see significant shift. Sometimes people will go down to 1 or maybe like 0.5, which how valuable would that be to get rid of that experience or that impact, the emotional attachment to that experience, so that you free your unconscious from that limiting pattern that keeps impacting your present and your future, so that you can create what do you want instead. So you can move on without feeling fear, and you can move on and get what you want in your life. I hope that served you, and I hope that you can take that on and apply it. It's a little bit of a long process, and if you're still here and watching this video, I acknowledge you for being on this video, because obviously you're committed to something and bigger than who you are, and you're committed to something that's important, and I honor you for that. And I hope that serves you, and please send me a comment below and tell me, what do you think of this pattern? What worked, what didn't work, how could I make it better? I'm always open there for suggestion, and I want to make this a powerful, impactful training videos for you. So please share with me your comment. What do you think of this video? What do you think of this process, and how could I make it better next time? Until then, be fearless and always be growing. Cheers.